What the president of Harvard had come to the conclusion of was that there were people who deserved to be in positions of power just naturally, just based on their genes. They were just the natural aristocracy. I think this actually comes from like Thomas Jefferson. He was a proponent of this. But his whole idea was that there are people who might just be poor who have the intellectual capacity. And so we're going to create a test where we can identify pure intelligence and then give out money to the people who deserve to be in these spaces, because he was like, there are rich people who don't deserve to be in the halls of higher learning, and they're only there because of money. Now you take this same idea, now granted you could say that it comes from a racist sentiment, yes, but there still is a part of it that's true, the fundamental idea that someone's outward circumstances aren't necessarily a reflection of their capacity. And so you have to give people some way of demonstrating that aptitude in order to really and fairly see if they actually do have a shot at engaging with these more abstract ideas. And so eventually the SAT was not displaced, but displaced more like in the, I guess, the western side of the US, including Arkansas a little bit, which is where instead of measuring pure intelligence, its goal was to measure what people ought to have learned at the end of high school. And then over the years, the SAT and the ACT have become closer and closer. But then if we go all the way to Lyndon B. Johnson, which is where the Higher Education Act comes into play, one of the conclusions that he came to, again, was the same sentiment. Maybe it's not because of some moral failing of our students that or because of the general populace, and maybe it's not some moral failing that like they're too lazy
Mm-hmm.
or too stupid in some ways to engage with higher learning. Maybe it's because they just don't have the resources of money, which can also equate to time, because if you don't have enough money, that means that you don't have enough luxury to engage in college, because if you're spending so much of your time trying to survive to get the money that you need to put food on the table, that also cuts into a lot of what you're able to invest in. But all of that's to say,